Lovely to see, and thank you for again coming this morning. And again, we will start as usual, as normal, with mindfulness breathing exercise to quiet our mind and to bring our mind in moment, in present. Okay? So just try to relax, make yourself comfortable. And then feel the weight of your body on cushion or chair, surrounding. And as you breathe in and out normally, naturally, observe or watch it mindfully and be aware. Then we can try to generate good intention, motivation for being here. For example, we can contemplate life is very unpredictable, unstable. And very fragile. Even though we feel healthy, good now, never know what holds tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. or we might not be even in this world next year. Things can happen so quickly, suddenly, unexpectedly, anytime. Therefore, whatever time we might have, many years, few months, we try to make most of it and make our life more meaningful and with higher purpose. And the way to make our life more meaningful with a better or higher purpose is to train our mind, work with our mind. So we have less negative thoughts, feelings, less never-ending desire, less anger, resentment, hatred, ill will feeling, less ignorance, jealousy, pride, the less we have those negative emotions or feelings, thoughts, the less we hurt and harm others. And also less those emotions, less it disturb our inner peace and happiness. While trying to reduce those harmful negative emotions as much as possible, trying to increase the helpful, beneficial, positive state of minds. This is true love, compassion, both to the mind, wisdom, sense of contentment, patience, and so forth. If we can generate and improve those positive state of mind, we will be more help and benefit to others. Not only we will be able to be more help and benefit to others, also we will be able to find more peace and happiness in our own mind and our own life. And in order to reduce and eliminate those negative, harmful negative thoughts and emotions, and to improve those positive state of mind, we really need to practice, meditate, and train our mind through practice. That is the only way we can train our mind and transform our mind. No other way to do that. Into practice, meditate, and train our mind, we need to be reminded of the importance of practice, encourage, inspire, with that hope and intention while we are here to listen. That's why we practice the Dharma or study the Dharma. And the purpose of studying, listening, reading, discuss, engage in discussions, reflecting, all of them, the purpose of all of them is to integrate and put into practice in our everyday life. Only through putting practice and integrating in our life, we can see changes. By coming here together to listen, to reflect, contemplate, may all this become cause and condition to achieve our highest potential, fully awakened state. So we can complete the highest purpose of others and oneself. We achieve our own ultimate happiness and to help to lead all other sentient beings to achieve their own ultimate happiness. Okay? Until enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Trinity. By the merit I create through listening to them, may I become a Buddha in order to generate all thinking. Ye Sherab Ye Konam Shantu Pasu Dani Sabsu Dagi Geshe Sherab Sola Pende Sangye Tuba Angye Sherab Ye Konam Shantu Pasu Dani Sabsu Dagi Geshe Sherab Sola Pende Sangye Tuba Yeah, the sound okay? So again, I just wanted to, um, you know, um, since every week we have two new people, so just introduce what we are studying or what we have been discussing over the Sundays. So we have been going through one particular uh, very well-known um, text by one of the great Indian masters, Atisha, um, and it is he explained the path to enlightenment, you know, um, the whole path to the enlightenment, um, and the whole path to the enlightenment is the way to achieve our own highest potential, fully awakened or fully enlightened state is through the practice of wisdom and the method, which are loving kindness, compassion, both the mind, you know, and the wisdom. Together with the wisdom and the compassion, then one can achieve um, that potential. So he explained how to cultivate, to love, to compassion, both with the mind and the wisdom, and of course many other practice um, that is involved. Mm. And again, as Buddha explained in Tathagata Garpa Sutra, as well as Maitreya, in his Anupatanara, um, that each of us, each and every sentient being, has what we call Buddha nature, or the potential to become Buddha or fully awakened or fully enlightened. Each and every one of us has that potential. And since we have that potential, the seed is there, the potential is there. So we just need to, awaken that, fully awaken that potential or that seed. And the way to fully awaken that and fully realize that, and the full potential is through the practice of the method or the compassion and the wisdom. So no matter how individual might seem, how bad one individual might seem, but each and everyone has potential to become fully enlightened. So, there's hope for everyone. There's hope for everyone. There's hope for the whole sentient being. Even someone might look like the worst person in the world, even if he or she has that potential to become the best person in the world. From being more cruel to becoming a more kind person. Everyone has that potential. If the right conditions come together, external, internal conditions, if those conditions come together to ripen their mind, to awaken that potential, that seed, that individual can become not only the best person, but the most awakened most kind. And with that understanding, with that, then it's important for us to keep our mind positive, hopeful, positive, instead of allowing our mind to become too depressed, too negative. When our mind becomes too negative and depressing, it doesn't help us, it doesn't help others. But when we are able to keep our mind positive, hopeful, it helps you, it helps others. Mm. So the path to enlightenment is the compassion and the wisdom, and we are in chapter where the author Atisha describe or on the wisdom, and we already went through quite a bit on that. So coming to the verses that we have left last week. Mm. So up to last week, he explained how the person or the self and phenomena, which is your own aggregate and all other phenomena, how they do not exist inherently. With many different reasoning and logic. We use many different reasoning and logic, different analysis. To understand or to come to the same conclusion, but using different reason, different logic. Just like, in other words, like we use different proof or evidence to come to the same conclusion. Similarly, coming to the same conclusion that things do not exist inherently, nothing exists inherently, and coming to that conclusion, understanding through having gone through many analyses, and with each of different analyses leading to the same conclusion that they are empty of inherent existence. And so last week we talked about particularly the reasoning and logic of dependent arising, how to, because everything is dependent arising, therefore nothing could exist inherently, independently, inherently. So that was what we. And he explained, even though there are many more reasons that, but he will not go into detail with each of those, because here he's going to just touch on some of them, and for meditation. Otherwise, it becomes too long. So when we talk about the wisdom, because we are talking about the compassion and the wisdom as a tool, as a path to enlightenment. So what kind of wisdom are we talking about? When we talk about wisdom, again, it is particular mental factors, and there are so many different wisdom. Are we talking about specific wisdom? Or any wisdom? So that is where identifying exactly what wisdom we are talking about here is particular. When we talk about wisdom as a path to enlightenment, wisdom to overcome our affective emotion. So here, Thus, any meditation on selflessness in which you do not observe inherent nature of any phenomena without exception is in and of itself the cultivation of wisdom. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have the page number, so I don't know for those new people. I think maybe second last. No, yeah, the third last pages and very, yeah, also we don't have back in, so. So here, as I mentioned, there are many different wisdom, you know. Mm. The wisdom, understanding, law of cause and effect, karma. How certain, when you engage in certain actions, the result is unpleasant. On the other hand, when you engage in certain actions, the consequences is pleasant. Depending on what kind of action you engage into, you experience different results, experiences. That is karma, the law of cause and effect. So there is a wisdom that relies or that understands that wisdom that understands law of cause and effect. There is a wisdom that understands how all conditioned phenomena are ever changing, transitory, impermanent. As long as it is conditioned phenomena, it cannot last. It comes and goes, coming to existence in decay. That is part of conditioned phenomena. Anything that is dependent on cause, nothing lasts forever. So there's wisdom of that. There's a wisdom, that realizing that there's no such permanent and heartless and autonomous self and other conditioned phenomena. There is a wisdom that relies, there's no self-sufficient, self-autonomous self. So there are many different kind of, even these are all on spiritual wisdom, Of course, there is also very ordinary wisdom as well, And when we have developed any of those wisdom, this wisdom can help us, to change our perceptions. And by changing our perception, the way we interact with the object, and by the way we interact with the object, then how we feel in relation to the object. And through that, then with all this different wisdom, it helps us to reduce certain growth level of, misunderstanding, misperception, or growth level of affective emotions. But in order to overcome not only the gross level of affective emotion, even the most subtle level of affective emotion, because if we look at ourselves, even we have attachment, anger, frustrations, all of that, there are many different levels. Sometimes it's very strong and gross. Sometimes it is there, but it's not very strong and not so gross. It's more subtle. Sometimes it's very subtle. Sometimes it's very subtle. We are not even aware that we are having that emotion feeling because it's very subtle. Sometimes it's even more subtle. In so subtle, it's almost like just a potential there. So, with certain practice and by cultivating certain wisdom, we can definitely be able to reduce and overcome the intensity of those growth negative emotions. You know? And with some other wisdom, not only the most growth subtle level, but to overcome even the most subtle level of delusion, then we need to have this particular wisdom, specific wisdom that is here described. The wisdom that understands all phenomena, as it said, without any exception, all phenomena, external, internal, objects, should be empty of inherent nature. The wisdom that realizes that no phenomena, no object, no thing exists inherently. To develop that wisdom through such meditation on that, by meditating on that, and when you develop the wisdom that relies that through such practice meditations, that's the wisdom that one needs to develop in order to cut all the delusion from the very root permanently. Not only growth, even the more subtle. So that is where here that describing this, identifying this particular wisdom when we talk about special insight and the wisdom of special insight. So that wisdom is, this wisdom. So that is where it is. Okay. So then, how to meditate, how to meditate on the, how to meditate on emptiness, how to meditate on selflessness, emptiness. So first, you study by reading the scriptures, sutra commentaries, or by reading them, by listening, and then reflecting on that, what you have heard, what you have read. We reflect of meaning on what you have heard about your emptiness, what you have heard about emptiness, what you have understood, whatever you think you have understood. Reflecting on that, through that reflections, using your mind with that kind of analysis, different analysis that we Atisha described, using all those different analyses, through using different analysis, reflecting, through that reflecting by using many different reason and logic, analysis, so forth, and you come to certain conclusions and convictions. Here, the conclusions and convictions is, that things do not exist inherently. Things do not exist inherently. So you use different reason, logic, different analyze again, and then at the end you use one reason and logic, and then oh, it's empty of impediment because it cannot withstand that reason and logic, that analysis. And you can use many different reason and logic, or certain reason and logic that you find more suitable for you, or which you feel more connecting, more effective, because not same reason and logic doesn't, same analysis, same investigations, or same examination, reason, logic might not have same effect on everyone. Not only in spiritual, even in our ordinary life, different researches, different there are many different researches, there are many different, and from different point of view and all that. And for some people, one research, some people, that way of outcome from that research doesn't convince them. And maybe another research that finds same, but from different point of view, or from different way of analyzing, that might be able to convince them of that outcome. So that is how, because we are different, our mind is different, same at the same time different, and so therefore, and that is also one reason I think, why there's so many different reasons involved. And so that is why we need to study first. Study all, and then, integrate yourself, and then you find out, oh, this one's work for me. This one's more suitable for me. This one is more effective to me. And then you rely on it. If you don't try, you don't know which one is going to be more suitable, is going to be more effective for you. And to be able to try few different techniques or different meditation, first you have to study them and then try all of them, and then eventually you find what particular technique of meditation is more effective, suitable for you. I think that is one thing I've repeated many times in the past. Because sometimes, I also used to have such what you call doubt or caution. Why don't it keep simple? One meditation. Why so many there? Why so many? Sometimes it feels like a little bit overwhelming. Why so many meditations? Why we don't have just one simple and we just do that? That would be great if one method worked for everyone, same way. But that doesn't work that way. Just as our body requires different things, same way our mind is, And so therefore, you have all those different techniques, different analysis, and then once you find out what particular meditation technique in relation to that particular subject, because even with one dealing with attachment, dealing with anger, there are so many different meditations. There are so many different analytical meditations. There are non-analytical meditations. There are meditation related to sutra, tantras, and all of that. And so there are so many different techniques, and then why that? And because certain techniques work better for certain individuals. And so that is why I think, so here I'm talking because we are talking about many different analyses. And then, once you through those analysis, examination, the conclusion is that coming to that conviction, total conclusion and conviction, there's absolutely no inherent nature. Even one atom, not even the slightest of any object exists inherently. You know? And when you come to that conclusion, that convictions, with strong convictions, maybe it's not like, maybe it is not inherent existence, maybe it is inherent existence. Maybe what about that if you have not convict, if you don't come to strong conclusion and conviction, if your mind is still, then it doesn't become powerful. Whatever reasoning logic you use, if one reasoning logic doesn't convince you completely, then try to use another reasoning logic that might help you to clear whatever doubt we might have. Maybe like that. So basically, you use different reason logic to come to total conviction, total, that there is no inherent existence at all, with relation to whatever object you are meditating, whether you are meditating on self, emptiness of self, And once you reach that, that strong conviction, then you try to rest in that emptiness, that the self, the person self that is empty of inherent nature. When you try to find with different analysis, different reasoning, you cannot find the self. And then through that, not being able to pinpoint, not being able to find, then with that, then it leads to conclusions or conviction that there is no inherent existence. If there is inherent existence, with those analyses, you should be able to find, you should be able to locate, but if that's not, therefore it's empty of inherent nature. And with total conviction, when you come to that total conviction, then you try to rest in that empty of the self, the empty of the self, empty of inherent existing self, and try to rest in that emptiness. First, you use the reasoning and logic analysis, and that reasoning and logic analysis lead you to that conclusion, that conviction. And once you have that strong conviction conclusion, then you try to rest in that emptiness, without doing more analysis or more examining or analyzing. And you try to, as long as you feel strong, empty of that, try to rest. And then again, after some time, your feeling of that empty might become a little bit weak. Again, you use the reason and logic. With that reason and logic, again, it leads to same conviction. It's absolutely empty of inherent nature. It's absolutely empty. And again, try to remain in that emptiness. So that is what you do, repeating that exercise again and again. Repeating the exercise again and again. Just like training the body, same. When you learn certain, whatever martial art, whatever kind of yoga, you learn a certain way of moving, and once you learn, you keep on repeating that every day, all the time, until you become really good at that, until it doesn't require so much effort. Even when you're distracted, you might be able to do all the posture without even very concentrated. Do you get it? Your mind is all over the world, but you are able to do all the steps perfectly because of familiarity, a custom, by repeating that again and again. That is same in our mind. Same in our mind. Training that. That is what meditation. You know. One of the problem for us is when you are repeating same thing again, you get bored. You know, I want something new. It's not exciting. You know, this is something I have been repeating. Well, same with your body training. If you want different movement every day, you are not going to perfect any of those movements and accomplish any of those. You know, same thing mind training. That is, you keep on doing, and then with a more and more time, as you do more and more, then it requires less and less effort. Less and less effort. Require less and less effort. Require less detail. What you call analysis by using different reason logic. It required less detail. At the very beginning, you have to go through all the detail, and then with the time, the moment you started to do that analysis, your mind can go to, that conclusion, convictions very easily without having to go through all the details so much. So, and then slowly, that convictions or that awareness that things do not exist inherently arise in yourself more often. And slowly, that awareness is with you all the time. And that is the way we want to live. When you have that awareness all the time, then you don't, then you don't get deceived by the appearance. You don't get deceived by the appearance. At the moment, we get deceived by the appearance because in that moment, we don't have that awareness. When we try to meditate, then we feel, oh, that is a deception. That was wrong. But when we are not meditating, then again, we get caught up and deceived by the appearance. And because we don't have that awareness alive or manifesting all the time. And so that is where, yeah. So that meditation, yeah. So that what we're talking about. So here, next, just as wisdom see no inherent nature in any phenomena whatever, So when you try to analyze and then, you understand and realize, no any object exists inherently, Then here, let the wisdom itself be the subject of analyze. The wisdom who is meditating or analyzing or realizing the emptiness, empty or inherent nature, then you use even that wisdom, the subject, that is observing, that is analyzing, that is relies on understanding, that as the object of analysis itself. Even that wisdom relies on emptiness, also is not inherent nature. Even that wisdom relies on emptiness. If you try to find within the basis, within the parts that make wisdom, is not find. Even that wisdom cannot withstand that ultimate analysis. Therefore, even that wisdom relies on emptiness itself is also empty of inherent nature. And meditate free from conceptuality. And then, when that wisdom is there, when you see the, wisdom itself is empty of inherent nature, then you try to meditate without the concept of suffering. It's like, you are at the very beginning, you are looking at a swimming pool there. Do you say it? There's the wisdom that is realizing the emptiness of that object. So it is like the wisdom, like you who is watching a swimming pool there, the object, emptiness of that object. Now here you are actually diving into the swimming pool yourself. So there's no person who's looking out there to the swimming pool, but you are in it. Similarly, that is what he is saying, at the moment when we are meditating and then we think, oh, there's my mind or my wisdom, that is meditating on this emptiness. So there is, such an object, that there is a dualistic, there's a mind that is meditating on the emptiness. So there is such an object, that dualistic conception. And so here is saying, when you meditate on emptiness of that wisdom itself, a subject that is the wisdom itself, then dissolve even um, the subject itself, and there then you just experience you are in it. So try to meditate without that subject and object, without that subject and object dualistic view or that dualistic mind or that conception. And if you are able to do that, then the meditation becomes more stronger, more powerful. And also, due to that, then there is no grasping and clinging to the wisdom. By wisdom realizing emptiness of, let's say, the wisdom realizing the emptiness of the self, maybe you might not have grasped into the self, but you might have grasping to the wisdom. And so, not only to let go of grasping to the object, external object, but even the very mind, very subject, the wisdom itself that is realizing emptiness. We should go grasp into even that. As long as you have grasped into that, again, you are not free. Your mind is not free. You are not free from the grasping and the delusion. And so you have to let go of grasping to any object. And so therefore, even the wisdom, even the path itself. Mm. So the whole purpose of meditating on emptiness is to let go of the grasp. That's all it is. If there's no grasping, then no other delusion arises on the basis of that grasp. Mm. And next one, here it says, the nature of this existence, which arises from conceptuality, is conceptuality. The nature of this worldly existence, which has come from conceptualization, is conceptuality. Thus, the elimination of conceptuality is the highest state of nirvana. Just trying to read the different translations. Mm. So, this worldly existence of samsara, okay, that's what is samsara. Okay, exactly existence. where does this why, how does the samsara arise? Why is there samsara? Why is there suffering? Basically, another way of putting, why is there samsara? Why is there suffering? Where does suffering come from? Where does the samsara arise from? So here, the nature of this existence, samsara or suffering, which arise from conceptuality. It arises from this self-grasping ignorance, which is these conceptions. So there is suffering because there is delusion. There is a delusion because there is this ignorance. Okay? That is where the samsara and the suffering come through delusion, arise from the delusion. The delusion themselves arise from that ignorance. Arise from that ignorance. So it is similar to, this is very similar to one of the Nagarjuna's later Nyamun Sabeka. 1 year ago. Nirvana is state that is free from the karma and the delusion. Later Nyamun Sabeka. And then where does that karma and delusion arise from? It arises from later Nyamun, from conception of conceptuality, or what? I don't know. Conceptuality is noun or is a verb? I don't know. What is the noun? Okay, so I'm trying to find the noun for that. Conceptuality. Okay, so the karma and the delusion come from, conceptuality, conceptuality. And here, when we talk that particular conception or conceptuality, we are talking about particular fabricating mind, fabricating mind. And that fabricating mind, or that conceptuality or conception of that fabricating mind, arise from conceptuality. And that is, this conceptuality means ignorance. So first there is ignorance, conception of the ignorance. Due to that ignorance, there is fabricating mind. Due to that fabricating mind, then there is attachment, anger, or delusion arise. To give just an example, first there is due to ignorance, there's grasping to the object. Okay, whatever that object is. Due to the ignorance, there's grasping to the object. Next, due to grasping to the object, then there is this fabricating mind. Oh, that is so nice. Oh, that's so bad. Oh, this is something good. This is bad. This is something I need. This is something I don't need. So all this mind comes. And due to that, then when I will say, oh, this is nice, this is good, this is what I need, then attachment arises. Or then, oh, this is so bad, this is useless, this is all these negative perceptions about that, negative perceptions, thought, then aversions, attachments arise. That's all the and such conceptuality or conception is abandoned or eliminated by emptiness. In some translation, in emptiness, some by emptiness, and it can be both. So that's very same like here. It's very same like here, similar, which arise from conceptuality and conceptuality is conceptuality. Therefore, to abandon conceptuality in its entirety is supreme nirvana. And when we are able to destroy, eliminate, all this fabricating mind, all the conceptions of the delusion and conception of the fabricating mind and the ignoring itself, together with the imprint left by all the delusion, including the ignorance, then that is, the supreme nirvana, non-abiding nirvana. The reason here is use supreme nirvana is referring to the Buddhahood. Non-abiding nirvana. Sometimes it is used, some term we use non-abiding nirvana. Arhat can also achieve nirvana or have achieved nirvana. So the nirvana achieved by the Buddha and nirvana achieved by the Arhats are not same. So the nirvana achieved by the Buddha is supreme nirvana, higher than the nirvana achieved by the Arhat. And it is called non-abiding nirvana because it's not abiding in samsara. Not only that, but also is not abiding in self peace or self salvation. So that is why it's free from both of them, samsara and the individual peace or individual bliss or individual nirvana. So, therefore, to abandon conceptuality in its entirety means not only all the delusion themselves, the root of delusion, the ignorance itself, but including the imprint left by the delusion and the ignorance. The imprint of the delusions and that ignorance is what we call obscurance to enlightenment. That is the appearance. The appearance of object existing inherently. What makes object to exist inherent to our mind? What makes the object to exist inherent to our mind is because of that imprint. Even when you have realization and emptiness, still the appearance is there. Because of your awareness and realization, you will not have grasping to that. You don't believe the appearance. You don't get deceived by the appearance because you know it, even though it appears inherently, but you know it's not inherent existence because of that wisdom, because of that understanding, because of that awareness. So you don't get deceived by the appearance. You don't get fooled by the appearance. You don't believe what appears to the appearance. So there is no grasping to that, but still there is appearance of that. And even Arhat have that appearance. They have no grasping, they have no delusion, they have no ignorance, but still they have that appearance. They have no grasping, but still because they have not overcome the imprint left by the delusion. And that imprint to eliminate that, then not only you need the wisdom, but the wisdom that is supported by the Bodhisattva mind. And so then, when you are able to overcome not only the delusion, include the imprint led by all the delusion, entirely, then that is the supreme, then one achieve or supreme nirvana or non-abiding nirvana of Buddhahood. That is the supreme nirvana. So maybe just to kind of discuss a little bit on the practice meditation itself. Of course, if we have time, if we have time, practitioners have time to do meditation, it will be good, to start with, if possible, invoking the Manjushri, the Buddha of wisdom, because here we are trying to develop the wisdom, invoking the Manjushri, and trying to see, inseparable of your Guru and Manjushri is actually your root Guru who is manifesting that Manjushri form. When it is human form, it's the Guru. When it is manifesting in a deity form, it's the Manjushri. So by seeing them inseparable and invoking them, and then, you can do a 7-limb practice. You can do very extensive, medium, very short, but trying to do 7-limb practice. Because again, as I mentioned before, we want to have a meditation more holistic that includes all different practices of purification, accumulation, merit, Guru Yoga, and then the actual meditation itself. So we start with that, 7-limb, and then, if you feel like and of course it's better if you have time and if you do, whether it's a long mandala, short mandala, because that is again very powerful way of accumulating merit. And then, you make a strong request to the Guru Manjushri to guide us, to inspire us, to bless us, to have this realization of emptiness, or to develop the wisdom realizing emptiness, just like the wisdom in his mind or in his heart. And you can, if you have time, you can do visualizing of, light and nectar, cleansing, purifying all the negativities, all the negative karma, delusion of good, and especially here, cleansing and purifying the self-grasping ignorance, because that is the main inner obstacle, cleansing and purifying of that. And then receiving the blessing of body, speech, and mind, and all the spiritual realization, especially the realization of wisdom relaxing emptiness. You try to do that. Once you have done that, then you can go to the actual meditation itself of emptiness. Whether you are doing meditation on sadness of the first yourself, or whether you do meditation on emptiness of the mind. So whether you do the person or the mind itself, you can see, where is I, what is I, who is I that receive all these blessings and all that. So then you try to do it, analyze with the self. Because before that you did this visualization of receiving all the blessings, this self, I who is receiving all the blessings. Now try to, where is that self? Who is that self? What is that self? Where is that self? What is the nature of that self? So then you, by using different reason and logic that we talked about before, then you try to do that. Same, if you are doing nature of the mind, same thing. When we visualize receiving all the blessing within our mind stream, set in our mind stream. And what is that mind? Where is that mind? What is the nature of that mind that receives in the mind stream that, and again, using different reason and logic, that is more, again, suitable for you, effective for you. You can use many reasons. Sometimes it make more stronger. And then you do analysis, as we mentioned before. And then after the different analysis, the reason and logic, you come to the conclusion, conviction. And then once you have that, come to that emptiness, then you rest in that emptiness. You rest in that emptiness. And again, you do same analyze, you repeat that, analyze it. And again, lead to same conclusion, conviction, a very strong feeling of that strong conviction, strong feeling that empty of inherent existence, very strong feeling. And then again, try to rest in that emptiness. And you try to do that. And then, at the end, you can think, well, even though when we do that analysis, even though whether it's the self, whether it's the mind, even though with that kind of ultimate analysis, it cannot be found, it cannot be, found with that ultimate analysis. But there's a self that experience, there's a self that experience different experiences, sometimes happy, sometimes pain, sometimes create good karma, sometimes create negative karma. And the self that is lost in the samsara, the self that could achieve enlightenment, the self that sometimes hurt other person, sometimes help other person, giving different experience. Those are, we cannot deny that, those are direct experience. So therefore, even though when I do that ultimate analysis, even though the self cannot be found, but there must be self, because it is against the direct experience. And therefore, so there must be, then how does the self exist? Oh, the self exists on the basis of collections of the aggregate merely level, on that merely level. So then, the self exists only on merely level, only merely imputed. So then, one can kind of end the meditation. How many ever minutes you do, 5, 10, 15, 20, half hour, 1 hour, and then you try to conclude that the self exists on basis of merely level, merely imputation. And then, of course, then you end with it. So that is the actual meditation, and then after that, then you dedicate whatever virtues that we might have created to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, to dedicate for the happiness of all sentient beings. Especially, we can dedicate to actualize that wisdom within our minds, mind stream. So I think maybe this is just one example or one way of doing the meditations. But of course, if you don't have time to do all, then you can still go in the meditation directly. But in order to have realization, as we talked before, is this holistic meditation practice is just like in everything. Holistic view approach is much more better. Because sometimes people think, oh, there's no need of purification, there's no need of accumulation, all these practices, there's no need of, Guru Yoga, devis. Just meditating on whatever subject, whether it's emptiness, whether it's bodhicitta, is enough. That hasn't been the case for most of the masters that when we read their biography, when they were combining all these practice this holistic view, then there you find more ease and more quickly and correct realization. And so, yeah. Okay, so maybe I can take a couple of questions if there is any questions. Yes, not.
In my journey to realize the emptiness of phenomena, I just want to share that what's really worked well for me is to focus on suffering, on the phenomena that hurts. I can really zero in on that clearly, and I ask those questions. What is it? Does it make sense? Is it the product of my mind? Is it real? You know, and not only does it help me realize emptiness of phenomena, but it gets rid of the suffering.
That comment was from Mark.
So, thank you for sharing your meditation, your experience. Any other questions? Yes. Didi?
This question's from Didi. So, what exactly then is consciousness, and does that inherently exist or not?
Thank you. Consciousness, self, or phenomena. There are two realities, conventional reality and ultimate reality. So again, I think we have to really not forget that. When we talk about emptiness, we are talking from ultimate reality. Okay? And when we talk about ultimate reality, we are not negating the conventional reality. Shouldn't be, you know. If we negate the conventional reality, then our understanding of ultimate reality, emptiness, is not correct. Someone who has correct understanding of the emptiness, you know, they also understand the conventional reality of that objects. Okay, so therefore, there is no. When you understand emptiness of karma, it doesn't reject the karma. You know, when you understand the emptiness of suffering, it doesn't reject the suffering. When you understand the emptiness of the happiness, it doesn't reject the happiness itself. You know, or whatever experience, whatever phenomena. So when you try to understand what is consciousness, then there's two ways of understanding, on conventional level and ultimate level. On conventional level, then it is consciousness is, you know, a phenomena or object, you know, that is luminous, clear, which nature is clarity and knowing or awareness, you know, which, you know, continuously, you know. So that is what consciousness is, and you know, especially when you talk about the mental consciousness and the consciousness in which the nature is luminous or clear and knowing and or awareness, and that carry the imprint of the actions karma. And when person when other cause and conditions come together, then a ripening of those seeds within the mind stream, so that the consciousness that we carry that, and is that consciousness, continue to that consciousness that, we take rebirth and so forth, so that is the functioning of the consciousness. But on ultimate level, does that consciousness exist inherently or not? If you try to analyze, it cannot. Even that consciousness is dependent arising. Even that consciousness only can come into the existence or arise and functions as a consciousness by depending on many other factors. Its paths and other factors. It cannot exist and function as a consciousness by itself without depending on other factors, other conditions. And therefore, that even consciousness is empty of inherentness. So therefore, even though consciousness is empty of inherent nature, but that doesn't mean that consciousness do not exist at all. But consciousness do exist, but it does not exist inherently. So I think that is one thing that's there. Okay. So, any other questions? Yeah. Otherwise, we'll do dedications.
Master Shantideva's prayer. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with the mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. Can you hear me? Yeah, sorry. So may the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world.
Very much. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day, rest of the day. Thank you.